Hello everyone and welcome to my video presentation. In this video, I'm gonna talk about a very interesting research paper which I found on ResearchGate, which is about emotional elicitation via VR survival horror game and specifically Resident Evil. They are focusing on about the papers. So the paper was researched by six individuals who were the doctorate students of University of Milano Bicocca, Italy. And the research paper was published in 2018, and the main aim was to analyze a horror game, Resident Evil 7, in different modalities such as virtual reality and console to explore the differences in the usability and emotional activation, and thus using the collected data as a tool for both emotional training and for curing the anxiety patients. So why did I choose this paper? Initially, I was looking for a good environment art paper as I have changed my thesis topic to horror environment art. But then I found this topic which was a perfect combination of VR and horror environment for this assignment. And this gives a new perspective of using horror experiences, horror games in VR as a tool to cure patients from stress management and anxiety disorder. Along with that, I am working with one of my friend on developing a VR application for the patients of anxiety disorder, and this paper forms a good base in that term as well. So what we're gonna be looking today in this presentation is introduction, motive of the research, then the experiment, participants, measures, hypothesis explored, the limitations of the research, and in the end, conclusion and discussion. Introduction. Since 2016, there has been a massive breakthrough of VR in gaming industry, and all the credit goes to the affordable commercial head-mounted displays in market. In June 2017, Sony Corporation sold 1 million VR headsets globally, and due to this, almost 7,200 games were developed and released in 2017 for virtual reality on Steam. And Resident Evil 7 is one of the most successful games in VR, which was developed by Capcom in 2017 January. I think the researchers chose this particular game for the purpose of their research because Resident Evil 7 Biohazard has won the Best VR Game award. Survival horror games in VR arouse different emotions like fright and anxiety and creates a deeper sense of presence in virtual environment as compared to non-immersive modalities like computer monitors. This can be used as a therapy tool for stress management, anxiety disorder, and phobias. So the main motives of the research were to compare the usability of a commercial survivor horror video game, which is in our case is Resident Evil 7 Biohazard in VR as compared to non-immersive display modality. And another one was to explore differences in the emotional activation while playing the horror video game in virtual reality or through console. So for the sake of this experiment, 26 students and personnel from University of Milano Bicocca participated in the research. Out of 26, 7 were females and 19 were males. And the age range was about 18 to 35 and average age was 22.65. And these are some of the eligibility criteria for the participants: no major medical disorders like heart disease or high blood pressure. The participant should not be a left-handed, no presence of antidepressant drugs, and obviously no significant visual impairment. Players' experience was evaluated mainly through these two types: self-report questionnaires, and the second was physiological indexes. In this, the player's heart rate and skin condenses was calculated using specialized medical equipments. Experiment measures. The following self-report questionnaire was given to the participants at the start of the experimental session. Demographics, game habits, and virtual reality knowledge. In this, individuals were asked to indicate their gender, age, their gaming habits, like number of hours spent on gaming per week,
and their previous experience with Resident Evil 7. Furthermore, the following self-administered questionnaire were used to measure the subjective indexes concerning individuals' emotional state, like feelings of anxiety, feelings of happiness, and surprise. For this, they provided a sheet to the participants with a 100 mm line anchored by word descriptors at each end, and the participants were supposed to mark the level of anxiety and happiness they had before playing the game, and they were provided the same sheets again in order to capture the anxiety and happiness level after playing the game in order to compare the statistics. Along with that, the participants were provided a system usability score. It's a very reliable tool for measuring the usability. It was consist of 10 items questionnaire with 5 response options for respondents, from strongly agree to strongly disagree.
For the sake of the research, the following physiological data were recorded. For measuring the heartbeat, electrocardiogram was used, ECG, and for the measurement of skin activity, the skin conducted response was used. A baseline measure of these signals was registered for 3 minutes in rest condition with eyes open, and once after completing the experiment, the in-game recording was compared with the baseline physiological readings.
Results. As there were two hypotheses specifically which were explored during the research. The first one was no difference in performance and usability between the two versions of the game were found. A sample t-test was conducted to compare the participants' performance in VR and console, and the results revealed that there was not a statistically significant difference in the total time required to complete the game for VR and console. Second hypothesis explored was that the horror game was able to elicit a sense of anxiety in players, both in non-immersive modality and in virtual reality. Initially, there was a raise in both modalities, but it was found later that the level of anxiety was a bit higher in VR. With regards to physiological measures, the results of GLM revealed that a huge difference was found in the heartbeats of the players before and after playing the game, and the same significant difference was found in the skin activity. An independent sample t-test was used to compare the participants' score of sense of presence after the two experimental conditions, and again, there was a significant difference in the feeling of presence for virtual reality as compared to console condition. This table reveals the overall summary of level of anxiety, sense of presence, the heartbeats, the skin activity, everything before and after playing the game in virtual reality and as well as in console. Although the results of the present study could be interesting, but this research has some important limitations that could affect the results or may have influenced the findings. The main issues are related to the small and specific sample size in study. The findings are based on only 26 participants, and most of them were gamers, young adults. Another limitation lies in the fact that interesting variables such as cyber sickness, motion sickness, experienced by player were not assessed, and this can also affect the result of usability and player presence. And lastly, it would be interesting to use other physiological indexes such as facial electromyography and the electroencephalography. In the end, shedding some light on the key findings of the research, playing a commercial horror video game like Resident Evil 7 in VR was not more difficult than playing in a non-immersive modality. Players showed an increased perceived anxiety both after playing the horror video game in VR and in other console, but it was found that in the end, the level of anxiety was a bit higher in VR. However, the perceived sense of happiness significantly increased only after playing in VR. Finally, the sense of presence resulted to be greater in virtual reality as opposed to console modality. The result of anxiety can be used to develop a scenario to deal the patients of anxiety disorder and phobia. Thank you for listening to me and giving your time. And now let's move to discussions. As VR devices are getting cheaper, do you think VR gaming will replace the non-immersive modality gaming in future? And I was wondering why every time while measuring the anxiety level, horror sequences or games are being used. Does that mean they have more impact than any other genre while measuring the emotions?